Hi guys, it's Becky, and I am ready to start making some Christmassy style jewelry, and I'm going to be using the most recent shipment. This was the November box for Dollar Bead Box, and it included my Dollar Bead Bag subscription. That's with these check glass beads, and I am really, really happy, by the way, with my new organization system for them, because it's really allowing me to be able to see everything that I got in that box and to be able to like view it all together and figure out how the little pieces are going to work together. So one of the things that I want to make today is I want to make a bar necklace using some of these beads that came in this box. I want to use these rectangular beads that have this gorgeous, they look like chiclets kind of a thing. I'm going to use these gumdrop beads. I'm going to use these large red cherry colored flavored beads, these white star beads, and I want to grab some of these red druck beads out of here so I can work with them. See how easy that was for me to get that out? I'm kind of loving this for my organization. And it's possible that I might bring some other beads out in a little bit, but for right now, I want to use these ones. And I'm going to be adding from my stash some Rolo chain, some gold Rolo chain, a toggle clasp, a couple of jump rings to attach the toggle clasp to the chain, and some 20 gauge medium temper craft wire, because I am going to make a little bar necklace with some beaded links attached to that chain. I got a big old kink here, so I am going to just cut that flush with my flush cutters. This is one of the tools I'll be using. Whoop! Just spinning right out there. I am also going to be using, most likely, these wide nose pliers because they are great for tamping down my wire and work hardening it as I'm working with it. And my 6-step bail making pliers because I love the consistency of my loops when I use this for making my loops on my wires. I have some chain nose pliers that I'm going to be using as well. And I think that is going to do me for my wire working tools. I've got my flush cutters, my chain nose, and my round pliers. And so I wanted to grab these gumdrop guys and just have them kind of dangling on a little bar necklace with these stars in between them. And I'm going to use these red drucks as spacers between the stars and the gumdrops. And then we'll use these. These ones will make our like this. Goody, goody gumdrops. That's what we've got. All right, let's make sure that all of these are going to fit on this 20 gauge wire before I get started, in case I have to change my decisions. Okay, and these, it looks like the hole goes there. These are 2-hole beads. Oh my goodness, I didn't realize when I unboxed these that these are 2-hole beads. Oh, does this change my plan? No, not really. It really doesn't. There we go. All right. Just again, making sure that all my beads will fit on my wire before I get started. All right. Okay, so now I need a little bar to put this on. I'm going to straighten it out with my fingers. I'll warm it up, make it a little bit easier to work with. And on one end, the end that I cut flush, although it doesn't really matter since I'm going to do a wrapped loop on this side, I'm going to go to my third step in my 6-step multipliers. Like this is 1, 2, 3. So this one, to make my wrap loop on one end of this bar. And I'm first giving it a little bend back so that when I wrap it around, my loop will be centered. Like that. I'm making the bar first. I'm just going to do 3 wraps around. Cut that off. Smoosh my end. And now to work hard in this loop, I'm just going to give it a little smoosh with this one. So I've got one end of my bar. Because I want this to be straight-ish, I'm going to go ahead and give this a smoosh down the length of it. Just opening and closing as I go down it. And I'm totally okay if there's a little bit of a bend in it, because our necks aren't straight. Alright, so now I'm going to slide these beads on here. Maybe I should, you know what? Because these are 2-hole beads, I am totally changing my mind. I'm not going to use these. I'm going to use them in a 2-hole bead design with some of these beads in a little bit. So I'm going to move them over here, and I'm going to pull out these these spike beads. I'm going to use them instead because they have a hole on the top, and they will drip drop from the bar very nicely, like that. I'm going to use these. They are going to be part of that. I was just always reserve the right to change your mind, guys. You can change it anytime you want, even after you've already put stuff on your wire, on your thing. If you want to, you can cut your wire and start over. Anytime something's not working for you, if you've got a better idea, or if you just want to do it a different way. Okay, well, that direct isn't working. Yeah, these'll work great. I had no idea those were 2-hole beads. I am so excited about that, you guys. When I unboxed them, I didn't notice both holes. This is a very Christmassy necklace. And I am here for it. I am so ready for it. I have been completely living in the moment and enjoying fall colors and waiting my time for Christmassy things. And I am ready for Christmassy things. Like, you know, as much as you might love a holiday, sometimes it's nice to spend the time enjoying the ones leading up to it and not rush things. All right, here we go. All right, so now for this one, I'm going to be looking at this with the round hoop facing away from me. I'm going to grab my chain nose pliers. I'm going to pinch right there and bend this over the top so that there's room here for my wrapping between that and the next bead. I'm going to use the same loop. It's this third step down in my stepped bail making pliers. If you're using round nose pliers, because you don't need the bail making pliers, you can use round nose pliers, you would want to have your loop be pretty close to the top of your barrel if you're doing this with round nose pliers. Just showing you. You don't have to, if you don't have them, you can still make something like this with that. Okay. So now I can cut my excess, and I will have my bar that is my focal. I'm just going to give it a little bit of a curve right there for when I hang my beads from it. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do on this side is I'm going to make just a little bit of a chain over here and a little bit of a chain over here. Again, I'm going to be using these for something else, so I don't need them. Not yet. All right, but for this one, let's just do some simple loops for our chain. Again, it's 20 gauge medium temper wire. And I am going to slide these guys on here. And even though I like to use usually my round nose pliers for simple loops, since I've got this right here, I'm going to go ahead and use my 6-step bail making pliers. I'm going to bring that loop all the way around to that side. Then on the other side, I'm just going to bend it back. That gives me a nice centered loop. Give it a smoosh. And then I can guesstimate the width of my finger. It's a good guesstimation for how much to cut off. And because I cut that flush, I can just move on to my next link. This is how I do multiple links all at the same time. As a kind of assembly line in, you know, make one loop, slide my bead up, cut it at the end of my finger. I'm ready to make another loop. Slide my bead up and cut it at the end of my finger. like that. Not cut your finger. Cut that at the end of your finger. All right. So now to make my other loop, if I have the leverage for it, I don't need to use my pliers to bend this against my bead. If I don't have the leverage of it, like if it's a smaller bead, or sometimes these rounder beads don't really work as well, like this, I'm losing my grip on it, I will grab my pliers, just kind of bend right there at the top. But with these, where I've got good leverage on the bead, I can just use my thumb and bend that over, and I don't have to worry about the pliers. So now that they've all had a good bend, I can measure this again with my finger right about there. That's where I'm going to want to cut that flush, because that end is not flush. That's where I cut it so that the other end would be flush. Let's see if that is the right size for this end of my looper. If it's not, I'll just go grab my round nose pliers. Oh, actually, look at that. That was a pretty good guesstimate on my part. All right, let's do this one. Right where my fingernail meets its quick down here at the end. It's a good measurement for that. Unlike the way you can figure out measuring things on your body parts, it's just by trial and error. You may have a totally different finger width than I do. That's okay. Because human beings are all sorts of different shapes and sizes. It's pretty crazy how different we are from each other. And in spite of the fact that we are so different from each other, how much the same we are. How much we all have hopes and dreams and wishes and loves and fears. Because that's just part of being human. There we go. We can all be so different, and yet we can all be very much the same. All right, so those are my links, and I'm going to attach them here to this side. Swing that open. Attach it to my guy. Swing this one open. Attach to that. Swing this open. Attach to this. All right. Now, I'm gonna make my links for this other side. And when I am done doing that, I am going to see if I have enough chain for the rest of my necklace, and I probably do, but I want to make sure of it before I attach the chain and before I cut it. All right, so I finished the second side of the necklace, the link part, the same way I did the first one, exactly the same, just, you know, without me talking to y'all because I was busy concentrating on this. So to check my length, I'm going to go ahead and attach one end of my chain to this end of my necklace. I'm going to pick it up, put it around my neck and make sure that this will attach to that side. And if it's a little on the tight side, it's okay because this will take up about 1.5 inches of space for my clasp. But if it doesn't meet at all, then that means that I need to lengthen the necklace. Oh, I have plenty of wiggle room. This is perfect. All right, so now I need to find the middle of this chain. This is my little hack for finding the middle of the chain, is I will put one end on a piece of wire or something, and then the other end on that end of the wire, and just let it drop. And then you can find the middle of that chain, and it looks like there's one single link that is the middle of that chain. So I am going to cut this right there, cut that link, and that should cut the chain in half. Wait, which link was it? Because all I did was slice it. Didn't actually come off. Is that it? That's the one right there. That's the one I cut. There we go. So now I have 2 lengths of chain that are the same length. Now I can attach the other length to the other side. I'm just excited because now I can do Christmas stuff. Like, I'm ready for this. I don't wear a lot of Christmas jewelry, but I love making it. It is so much fun. You know, I will wear some. Because 'tis the season, and you know what? You don't just have to stick with jewelry. You can make ornaments with your beads. You can make little icicle ornaments that'll hang from your tree. Look at that. Look how beautiful. All right, let me grab these guys. Cool. Let's open this up. This is another great thing that this is good for, is holding one end of my loop while I open and close a jump ring. I need to attach this to it. There we go. I'm about to have my first Christmas make for the season. And you know what? I think while I have this rolling, I think I'm going to go ahead and make that bracelet that I was just thinking of with those 2-hole beads. And we'll just do a whole Christmas make video with several things. All right, so first project done from the Dollar Bead Box. I didn't even dip into the Dollar Bead Bag beads. This was all from the bead box for this. So we've got that one done. Now, I am going to be using these stars. I am going to be using one of these buttons. I am going to be using these beads. I'm going to use these red fire polish beads that came in the Dollar Bead Bag. And I believe I'm going to grab some of these. No, actually, I don't need to. We're going to be just fine with what we've got here. But I am going to grab some beading wire and some crimp tubes because I am going to be using beading wire to make a bracelet using this project, and I just want you to decide what beading wire I'm going to be using for this. And I think I want to use this garnet color. It's a nice dark red color. Or do I have more coral? If I do have more coral, I can't find it, so I'm going to stick with the garnet. Because coral is a nice bright red color that would go really nicely with this. All right. Now I'm going to just grab a little more than that off of here. And I need a flush cutter. I'm going to be using my magical crimpers to crimp. Let's grab a flush cutter to cut our wire. You can use any wire cutter, actually. It doesn't need to be flush for a beading wire. But they're handy, and they're right here. All right, so I've got my beading wire. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this button into a closure on one side. So I'm going to put my beading wire through both holes of this button. Bring it down to the middle of the beading wire, right there. And then I am going to grab a crimp and slide it right down next to the button. And these are 2x2 crimp tubes. I like the Soft Flex brand because they always work for me. They are not plated brass, which a lot of crimp tubes are. Just, you know, tend to crumble. They're nice and solid, and they hold really well. So I've got that down there. I'm going to make my crimp, and I use with the magical crimper. If you haven't used them before, it has this concavity in there, and the first time you crimp it, it's going to make it into a little ravioli like that. And then if you open it, rotate it and squeeze, open, rotate and squeeze, and go around, it flattens down those edges so you have a nice crimp bead. And that's what I like it for. All right. I'm going to pop a red fire polish bead on each strand. Slide that down to the bottom. And then I'm going to put each end of my beading wire through my 2-hole bead. There we go. Now I'm going to grab these again on each side. I'm just going to be alternating these. I'm going to do the fire polish and a 2-hole bead, the fire polish and a 2-hole bead, but my next 2-hole bead is going to be these stars. Like that. And this is one of the reasons I grabbed some colored beading wires, because it's part of the design. It's going to be visible on either side of these guys. I mean, you could try to hide it with some, maybe some the 3mm fire polish beads as well. Like if you put a 3mm on either side of these, that might hide it a little bit more. But I don't mind it. I like this color of beading wire, so I'm going to have it out where we can see it. I am just going to do this until it's either as long as I want it or I run out of these beads, because they're the ones that I'm going to run out of first. And since this is a spur of the moment thing, I did not plan it, so I didn't measure how long this would be for it. But I just wanted to show you real quick, if you were to want to hide the wire that you're using with this, kind of what it would look like with the 3mm fire polish beads. Come here, friend. Okay, and I think I'm going to grab the green ones for that, actually. This is just an example. So you put one of these on each end of the strand, and then go through the holes on this one. And see, that would hide the wire a little bit better. You know what? Dang it, I like the way that looks. Yeah, I'm doing that. All right, let's pull these out. I'm gonna move down here, and I'm gonna do that. Yeah, let's get these beads out. I was just trying to give you guys another option, and I like the way it looks. I like the way it looks. So I'm using the 4mm fire polish in red. Actually, it's cyan, I think. Siam, not cyan. All right, and then I've got these opaque green ones that are the 3mm. And my 2-hole star beads. Let's do the other side. This is going to be a whole Christmassy bracelet. And it's super easy, super quick to make. If you've got a holiday party to get to, you got these beads lying around. Boom, Christmassy. Okay, I love this. Not gonna lie, kind of love this a lot. All right, I'm gonna finish this. I'm gonna get it to the length that I want, and I will show you how to finish it up so that it turns into a bracelet and we can close it. So as luck would have it, when I got to this length, this is exactly when I used up all of my star beads, and this will fit around my wrist very easily. So this is perfect length for a 7.5-inch wrist, which is what I have. If you have a longer wrist, you might want to add another repeat of the Tila beads on either side. If you have a shorter wrist, you might take off this repeat of the Tila beads and just have it start and stop with the stars. Depends on how you wanted to do it. All right, so on this end, what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide one of these crimp beads onto both lengths of my wire. I'm going to slide it down to about there. And then I'm going to bend one of these wires back on itself and go through here too, because I'm just going to make a loop that will go over the button on the other side for a closure. Now you could, if you wanted to, get some of the 3mm beads or some seed beads and line this wire with that. But I usually find with the soft flex wire, you don't need to do that because this wire is pretty heavy duty. It doesn't fray easily. It can take a beating. All right, so that's going to be definitely big enough. I'm just making sure that my loop will go around my button, but won't be too loose before I crimp it. Okay, that's perfect. I also want to make sure that I can still, yes, I can still button this. So now I've got my loop over here. I'm going to do the same crimping that I did before where I squeeze it flat-ish, and then I rotate it and squeeze. You want to squeeze it after you rotate it, not while. And then that makes my nice little round loop, and I'm just going to snip off my excess wire here right next to my crimp bead. Fast, easy, simple bracelet. I was pretty sure I made it big enough. There we go. It's got itself a little closure with the button. Oh, that's why I have it twisted. There we go, that's better. Okay, perfect. All right, so let's just call that a day. I'll do some earrings later, but my first 2 Christmas projects using the Dollar Bead Bag, or sorry, Dollar Bead Bag and the Dollar Bead Box. And I am ready. I am ready. There we go, Christmas tree shapes with this. I'm just having fun with the beads. I'm going to put those away in a minute. But I hope you guys are having a great weekend. I hope you are ready to jump into this holiday if you celebrate it. And if not, I'll have some other non-holiday themed makes happening sometime in the next week or two. But I appreciate you all, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.